Mr. John, Pack 554. I'm going to go through some knife safety right now different types of knives first for the Whittling Chip, so you guys can know a little bit about knives. So, brought a couple of my handy dandy knives out. This is a really big version of what is called a lockback. A lockback is very straightforward. It is a straight blade that has a lock on its back. So this is a lockback. So this knife is very, very big. This is a hunting knife. However, this same style knife is exactly what you guys should be using. So you want to use a lockback so that while you're going through and cutting and whittling, the blade doesn't go through and do one of these numbers and hurt you. It's in a locked fashion, so no matter what happens, this knife won't come apart. So Liam is behind us. Liam is doing some whittling right now. Liam, can I see yours? Got it? So Liam's is like the perfect size because for you guys have little hands. So for your little hands, you can get all of your fingers on the knife and be able to hold it, okay? The blade is just the same size as what the knife is, and you can go through and do whittling and that type of stuff and have really good control. This particular knife's got a contour to it so that when you're holding it in your hand for a long period of time, you've got your fingers around the knife, you've got your thumb on the back of the knife, and you can go through and do your cutting away motion, which we'll go through in safety, but that's called a lockback. This particular knife is not a lockback. This is just a locking knife because it has a lock inside the knife that you actually have to pull with your finger to make it move. There you go, Liam. Now this is a really, really big lockback, but it's also a saw. So this is super cool. It's got a lock across the back where you push it, and it obviously makes it close. So this is a saw, but it's the same idea as a lockback. So those are pretty cool. Then we have a couple of different scout knives that are cool that are here. So this is for the parents. This is what was called, it's got the Boy Scouts of America insignia on it, but this is called a leader's knife. This was set up that it's a really, really small knife, so it looks like the same idea here, that it's really, really cool to have, you know, your scouts use it. It's got a sharp point, it's got obviously a cutting blade that's on it. It also has a very small awl and straight edge that's on here, super sharp. So this style would be super cool for their hands, but because the knife doesn't lock, it does one of these numbers. So if you caught on something while you're doing it, then you would go through and obviously you could cut your finger doing it like this. Okay. There's another style of a pen knife. I was really liking that hat. No? All right, you want to wear it? All right, thanks. I was really getting into it. It was protecting my head from the sun. So also another version of this pocket knife, a gentleman's knife, so super, super small, but it's got a small, super sharp blade. So those are a couple of knives that are really, really cool for little kids and for cubs, but it doesn't lock, so it's not like the best scenario. And then you can get like a sheath. This is one of my knife sheaths that I got literally when I was your age, but it was a Boy Scout sheath. Then I've got kind of a medium-sized little design. It's got a little eagle on it that I got, you know, another one that's out there. Lockback, same situation. It's got a different lock. You push that lock down and it allows the knife to move back and forth. So that part's pretty cool. I like that. Then I've got, this is one of like the most standard Boy Scout knives that are out there. So again, it's got the BSA logo on it. It's kind of cool. It's got a can opener, the sharpened side can opener. It's got a small little Phillips head screwdriver. It's got a flathead screwdriver with another can opener in it. It's got a straighter point awl. Again, an awl is a blade that you can go through and you can punch things like leather, etc. And it's got your standard cutting blade in it. So this is another one of the Boy Scout version knives that are out there. And again, always keep your knife in the sheath. Keeps it safe. And the last couple are a couple of fixed blades that I have for different purposes. So this particular knife is it's a fillet knife, but it's more of a extreme style fillet knife. Different kinds of like it wouldn't you'd use this on a fishing excursion as opposed to just constantly having fishing knives. It's got a little thicker blade to it as opposed to just fillet, so if you had to cut other stuff, but it's super sharp, like a fillet knife. This one also can set up, it's got a hook sharpener that's in the back. It's also got a honing stone in it, so you can go through and sharpen the knife that's on it. Then finally it's got a grip on this side with the blade in it, so you can come around and you can literally cut things. So it's more of an extreme knife. This is a super cool fillet knife. It's a lot thinner. It's got a lot more flexibility to it, so like when you're boning, etc. But this knife is super sharp. And this is also a fillet knife, but this would be not for any kind of other things that any other utility. It would just be set up for going through and filleting. Lastly, the last fixed blade that I have is it's a fixed blade. This is a game cleaning field knife. This is my buck knife. Use this for a lot of deer. I'm going to go through and clean deer, so it's, again, you don't want this knife to fold. You want the contours in your hand, you want it to be comfortable, you want to constantly be cutting away, but these knives are all like laser sharp. And they have different purposes, again, some fishing, some hunting. And I always keep my knives in their original packaging, as new as I possibly can, so that part's kind of nice. And then lastly, I'll go through sharpening with you guys. So here's a couple of different kind of sharpeners. This is my son Liam's sharpener. It's kind of a hand sharpener that's available that you can get at the Scout store, or you can get it online. But it's got a carbide blade that you go through and sharpen with, and it's got a ceramic blade that you go through, and it says to pull, meaning pull it in this direction. You wouldn't push away on it because you won't get a straight cut with it. And then lastly, it's got this is a fine, almost like a diamond coat that you'd go through, and this is for real fine sharpening of your knife once you're done. This is just a single twin carbide sharpener, very simple. You pull your knife through, I'll show you in 1 second. And then lastly, I've got this one, which is, it's got the carbide in here, and then it's got ceramic right here for a fine sharpen that's on there. So those are super cool to be able to do that. It's a bigger style, so it's more comfortable in your hand, but very straightforward. So here's a normal lockback folding knife. You go through in these particular cases, you're going to pull the knife away from you. Okay, so those will do it there, and then once you go through and you want to get your kind of fine knife to it, you're going to go through and just pull it through the center of through the ceramic. Now these are set up where they have, it's in your hand here, so that as you're doing these, it kind of blocks the knife if it were to come out. But once you're done with those, obviously it's super sharp, and I've only gone through it a couple of times now. The way to tell that your knife is sharp is very simple. You're going to go through and take your knife, and at a decent angle, you want to go through and you want to push that on your nail. And if you go through and you push it on your nail, not on your finger, not on your hand, because you'll go through and cut it, but if you just do it on your nail and it stays there, that shows that it's sharp. The reason that you want to use your nail is because your nail's a little bit harder, and you can see how it's, if you were to look close, like you can see the shavings from my nail from where I had gone through and held it on there. And I'm using a little bit of force to it, but that shows that it's going to stay in there. You don't want to do that on something like a finger or anything like that, because if it's real sharp, it's going to go through and cut you when you do that. So again, you always want to make sure that your knives are sharp and clean. So as I go through, when I'm done with these, I usually wipe them all down so that they're nice and clean, and then I put them back where they belong. So they go through and they work for long periods of time. So Mr. John went through some knife sharpening with you and some different kinds of knives that are here. Come back in a little bit, and I'm going to go through some knife safety with you guys. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.